recently, if you haven't noticed, which you probably have, there's this big trend that's going on about, we gotta find KONY, KONY 2012. Let's make KONY famous so we can catch him because he's an evil guy. He's doing evil things, and it's made popular by this group called Invisible Children. Now, I want to start by just saying, if you've never been to Uganda, if you really don't know anything about Uganda, then why would you watch a 30-minute video and immediately believe everything that they say? Is it because, they're supposedly humanitarians, or, they seem like nice guys? What is it? Why should you believe these guys? Why should you take what they say at face value? I heard a bunch of stuff about Invisible Children. I went in, I watched the video, and immediately I'm like, well, let's just look into this, not to purposely, go out and find something wrong with the organization, but to just look into it so I knew more about it. It's the type of person that I am. So, and when I looked into it, I found, some things that were inconsistent with who they were claiming to be and what they were claiming to stand for, and just inconsistencies with what the supposed character of the organization is in general. Now, I want to say this before I go on, before you say, I hate children, before you say I'm heartless, before you say this or that, or before you believe what I say, I want you to, after you're done watching this, to go and research everything I said. And, because this is one of the biggest problems that we have in this country with, with our youth, with everybody. They get home from work, from wherever, from school, you watch the news, you watch, this KONY 2012 thing, and immediately you believe what they say. Either you're too tired, you're too lazy, or you just, you're too naive to think that anyone would have anything to gain by lying to you. So with that being said, I'd like to start just by, giving a little bit of background on this organization. They're not a new organization. They've been around since the early 2000s. They only have about a 2-star rating from the Charity Navigator because they refuse to allow an independent audit of their finances, where they're getting money from, where it's going to. So, immediately you gotta wonder if these guys are, really humanitarians, then, why the secrecy? Why don't we get to know? I mean, will people be upset? What is it? So, immediately that raises some questions. And by their own admission, they only give 31% roughly of what they receive to the actual, to the cause. So, going into this further, look, they act sort of, like apologists almost. They're advocating for military intervention and military aid and financial aid, which they've already gotten for the Ugandan dictator, Youre Museveni. Now, and that's if I'm pronouncing his name right. I'm sorry, I'm not too good with pronouncing African names, but Youre Museveni is not a good guy. Okay, they're talking about giving this guy money they already have, $45 million from the U.S. government since this whole thing. There's about 100 advisors, U.S. Special Forces currently on the grounds in Uganda, and Obama says, okay, there aren't going to be any more advisors, but Vietnam started with military advisors, so you got to stop and you got to think, okay, well, is it only going to be advisors? But anyways, so this Youre Museveni, all right, he's stolen the past 3 elections in Uganda. He's not a good guy. He's herded about 2 million people from the Alkali region into concentration camps. Okay, about 1,000 so far, men, women, and children, have died through calculated, purposeful neglect. Not enough food, not enough water, medical, treatment, all that. And he's openly stated he thinks the Alkali people are scum, But already, I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, KONY uses child soldiers. That's the problem. Child soldiers is the big problem. That's what we're fighting against. Well, another few things about Museveni until I get into the real, to the real stuff. He has been named liable. His regime has been named as liable for crimes in the Congo, for war crimes in the Congo, by the International Court of Justice. He's partially responsible for the genocide in Rwanda, disemboweling pregnant women, killing children, men, women, burning villages, rape, all that, But the big one is Museveni, KONY isn't the first one to use child soldiers. I don't know if you know that or not. You probably don't. Museveni used child soldiers way before KONY did, for his insurgency, he was the trendsetter in this little military tactic of, going to a child soldier, you fight with me or you die, So, already, you gotta, try and piece this together. These humanitarians at Invisible Children, these real human rights activist people, that all they care about is helping the kids, and getting rid of a corrupt guy, want to do it by giving money to a corrupt guy who himself has used child soldiers to attack a man that also uses child soldiers. So what sense does that make? How is that a better solution? And another thing is a lot of you don't even know how the general Ugandan people feel about the dictator. And by openly giving him military aid, financial aid, you're making it a lot easier for him to maintain an iron grip over the territory, over the country. So, in your naive, probably privileged position of being a spectator of the crisis over there, which, you're not even a good spectator, you think you have the answers, but you don't. And so, now, you gotta wonder, okay, here's another thing. KONY, there's different reports varying that he hasn't been in Uganda since, some say 2004, some say 2006, but regardless, they all agree he hasn't been in Uganda. He's not in Uganda right now. So, and also other reports, he's about 400 strong, they don't have heavy artillery, they're, dwindling on resources, they're in a bad way. And so they have no possible way of overthrowing the Ugandan government. Okay, they're still using child soldiers, that's bad. But they're not as strong, as powerful as the video makes them out to be. And like I said, once again, we're not going to stop the use of child soldiers by giving money to someone who uses child soldiers. It's not going to happen. It doesn't even make fucking sense. Okay, so now I want to get into this. Why, and I want to ask you this, why would these people, these humanitarians, why would they try and get you to give support to a military dictator, okay, to a human rights violator? How are they humanitarians if that's what they want? If that's the goal of their whole operation, give this guy money, give this guy aid, give this guy, what he needs to go in and catch this other guy. They're both bad guys. It's like sending Pol Pot in to kill Hitler, okay? It's fucking ridiculous. So, I started looking because immediately after I started seeing these things, it seemed like there was a secondary agenda, or, an agenda that's really primary, but it's, being masked by this whole, stop KONY, save the kids, all that shit. And I found one. And it's pretty obvious, too. When you look, there are striking resemblances between the plight of invisible children and, well, not their publicly expressed plight, but their, what their real goals are of giving military aid to the Ugandan dictator and, who's been fighting a proxy war for the United States in Sudan, against, fundamental Islamists, but